President Trump is giving seniors two big increases this year. The first one is going to boost Social Security benefits by about $600. And the second one, which just got announced recently, is going to send direct payments of $600 to seniors, including those on disability benefits. So, why is the president doing this? Well, the first benefit, the first increase came as part of the Social Security um, payments, the deduction that was added as part of the big, beautiful bill. But here's the truth about that: 50% of seniors did not get a part of that increase. And so there was a lot of complaints by seniors about why the big, beautiful bill is leaving half of seniors behind. And then weeks later, the president got behind a new idea to send $600 direct payments to Americans, including seniors, both on Social Security and disability. So why is the president sending a second payment right after a big bill was just passed? I think it's because they started to feel the pressure from 50% of seniors who were complaining or were unhappy or were disappointed that the big beautiful bill only included tax credits or tax deductions that were not applicable to majority or at least half of seniors that were on Social Security and disability. So in my opinion, the $600 stimulus that has been proposed is to make up for that mistake or for leaving half of seniors out of the big beautiful bill. So today I'm going to explain to you what those two are and go in detail about who is eligible. Plus, there is a lot of news I want to cover to you today. The Treasury Secretary made news a few days ago that they want to privatize Social Security. Then he has to walk it back. The Social Security Administration has announced a lot of changes. That's going to cause a lot of confusion. And I have some other news I want to bring to you about why the government owes you $370 if you're on Social Security or disability benefits. A lot to cover today. Stay with me. My name is Kwame Kwade. I have been helping seniors get the retirement benefit they deserve for 15 years and counting. I cover topics on Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, food stamps, and other personal finance issues that affect seniors both in and out of Congress. Now, if you are new here, welcome. I'm glad you're here on this Thursday evening. Do me a favor, go into the comment section and let me know your city and your state. We like to know who is watching our broadcast and from where. And then, if you've been watching my channel for a while, welcome back. I am also glad that you continue to support this channel. Now, a lot to cover. This video is sponsored by our partners from Chapter Medicare, who have saved over 2,000 of our viewers money on Medicare and have helped them get into better plans. I am going to give you more details about how Chapter can help you get into a better plan and also save money. I'm going to do that shortly, but we have a lot to cover, so let's get to it. So the first thing I want to talk about is that there is a lot of questions around how the big beautiful bill specifically affects seniors and what income threshold does the cutoff start. But more importantly, depending on what income you're making, how much money do you get from the big beautiful bill? So I'm going to set the stage with that and show you, specifically break down who is getting what and when. And then I'm then going to go into the new bill that has been proposed. I'm going to show you, because a bill has actually been proposed to send the $600 to seniors. I'm going to share my screen and just show you the bill very quickly, and I'm going to get to it later. So this is the bill. It is being proposed in the 119th Congress. It was just a few days ago that Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri proposed a bill in the Senate. And so this is getting a lot of buzz because it was a week ago that President Trump indicated that he was willing to take some of the money that have come in from the tariffs and use it to send direct payments to Americans as a gift. So I am going to share the details of this new bill. I have read the entire bill, and I'm going to break it down to you on how they are going to send this payment soon. So that's another thing I'm going to be sharing with you. But in the meantime, I want to go back to the one beautiful bill because there's been a lot of confusion about who is getting what. and I want to explain to you how it's going to work and give you specific income threshold on who is going to benefit and who is unfortunately not going to be able to see relief under this bill. So one of the best explanations I've seen comes from this site, and it's talking about breaking down the one big beautiful bill impact of the new tax law on tax planning. So what I'm going to scroll down is the part that is relevant to seniors. And so I'm going to show you the first chart. The first thing I want you to know out of the big beautiful bill is that there are new tax brackets that affect everybody, including seniors. So if you're looking at this map very clearly, or this data point, you can see that they've made changes to 3 tax brackets. The people who are making up to $12,000 are getting a little change in the tax bracket. The people who are making in the 12% tax bracket are also seeing a change at the other side of it. And then the people who are in the 22% tax bracket. Why is it important? Well, the TCJA is President Trump's tax cut from 2017. And then the OBBBA is the one that is replacing. That's the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Is replacing the TCJA. I know there's a lot of acronyms. Stay with me. I'm going to explain it all that to you. So if you're in the 10% category, your highest point of taxes went up a little bit. If you're in the 12% category, both the low point and the end point went up a little bit. And if you're in the 22% category, your beginning point went up a little bit compared to where you started this year. That's the only change that has happened in that category. Now, if you move on to the next category, head of household, there's also a change in that category. So I want to share that with you quickly. Here's head of household, same thing. There is changes in those 3 tax categories, 10%, 12%, 22%. Everybody else remains the same. And then if you move to married filing jointly, which some seniors fall into, that is where you see a big of a dramatic change, because even though the same categories are being impacted, obviously because it's 2 people, the numbers are a little bit high. So the first thing I want to show you and share with you in the big beautiful bill is that the tax brackets, there have been changes in the bottom 3, the 10%, the 12%, the 22%. So when you look at your combined income, you have to figure out where do you fall in this tax range. That is important because come tax time, this is going to be critical information to know. Again, if you're new on this channel, I am glad you're here. I'm happy you're here. Go into the comment section and let me know the city and state you're watching this broadcast from. If you've been watching us for a while, I really appreciate you being here and continuing to support this channel. Now, so first thing I wanted to share with you was the tax bracket. Now let's get to the meat of the story. So the biggest deal is that there are deductions that are stackable. And that's what I want to explain to you today. When it comes to the big beautiful bill, in order to understand how it affects you, you have to understand that the taxes are stacked on top of each other. And so when seniors ask me, does the big beautiful bill apply to me? The way I answer that question is, when you stack up all the tax deductions, if you make more than the total tax deduction, then you are able to claim it. But if your total income is less than the total tax deductions, there are 3 tax deductions that seniors can benefit from as part of this bill. So I'm going to explain that to you, and then you can clearly see whether you belong to the category of people that are positively impacted by the big beautiful bill or not. And if you're not, do not be discouraged, because I'm about to talk about the $600 stimulus that was just announced and the bill that was just put in Congress. So let's talk about the 3 main stacks of taxes. The first one is the standard deduction. The standard deduction under the old President Trump tax cuts was $15,000 for singles, and now it's going to $15,750 starting in 2025 under the big beautiful bill. Head of household is going from $22,500 to $23,625. And then married filing jointly is going from 30,000 to 31,500. So that's the first level of the taxes that are being stacked. So if you already make less than $15,000 as a single person, unfortunately, you're already out of the game. So stay with me. I'll walk you through the stimulus check that is coming. But I want you to understand that in order to qualify, your total income has to exceed the three taxes that are being stacked on top of each other, the tax deductions. So we've covered the first one, which is the standard deduction. And then the second one is, so here we go. So the second one is the senior deduction. And then the third one is the one that comes with the one big beautiful bill. So this is a table that kind of summarizes everything, and I'm going to explain it to you in a second. So let me see if I can display it better. Okay, there we go. So if you can see what I have on the screen, there are three taxes that are stacked up on top of each other. The bottom one I explained to you is the standard deduction. The 15, this is for a single person, okay? A single person in the left column is making $15,750. That's the first tax deduction. And then there's a $22,000 tax deduction for seniors over 65. That is also available to you. And then on top of that is the new $6,000 deduction. So if you're a single person filing single, there's three taxes you have to stack on top of each other to determine if you qualify. And they all add up to $23,750. So if your income, your combined income, taxable income, is less than $23,750, then you cannot deduct because you don't make enough money. And you move to the next category of why the next category is important. Married filing jointly has two categories. There are married people who are filing jointly, but not both of them are 65 plus. Remember, there are two of the stacks that only apply to people who are 65 plus. So the standard deduction, everybody can get it. The standard deduction, everybody can get. The next stack is the $2,000 deduction for seniors over 65 plus. So if you're married filing jointly and one is not 65, then they can only claim one. And so in that chart that I just showed you, my married filing jointly, but only one is above 65, can only claim a total of $39,100. So if you're married filing jointly, but one is above 65, then if your income is above 9,100, you can get the benefit. I hope I'm explaining this clearly. But then if you're married filing jointly and both of you are 65 plus, you are in the best case scenario, because not only do you get the standard deduction, which is 31,500, not only do you get the full second deduction, which is 3,200, but then you also get double the deduction from the OBBA for 12,000. So if you are married, filing jointly, both of you are above 65, and your income is above $46,700, then you can claim the tax benefit. You can get relief under the Trump benefit. So what does that mean when it comes to your daily calculation and where it falls for you? I have another chart I'm going to show you in a second. And then I'll talk about the SALT deduction. So essentially, if you are married filing jointly and you make more than the limit that I showed you, then you're in the best scenario. If you don't, then basically you cannot deduct and take advantage of the tax deduction. And that is why a lot of seniors were frustrated with the big beautiful bill, because rather than giving seniors a direct increase in their Social Security or disability benefit, they give you a tax deduction that you have to make money above a certain threshold in order to claim. And so if you don't make money above that threshold, then you are out of luck. And so even though, the Social Security Administration sent out an email saying, oh, 98% of seniors are not 90% of seniors are not going to see taxes on their social security. Well, 50% of seniors already don't pay taxes on their social security. So that statement does not help the 50% that were left out. And so the point I'm trying to make is that in order to understand why a lot of seniors do not benefit from the bill, it's important to understand how the bill was set up. It was a stack of tax deduction. And if your income is lower than that threshold, then you miss out. So that's the first thing I wanted to share with you. And then if you live in a state where taxes are high in terms of local taxes and state taxes, then you also get more, because now you can also deduct what they call the SALT deduction. So essentially, and I hate to say this, but the truth, the big, beautiful bill is stacked for the middle income household and the high income household, the middle class and the wealthy. That is who this bill was stacked for, because on top of everything I just told you, where you have three different stacks of tax deduction that those people can take, they then have the SALT deduction. So if you live in a high state and local tax state, now you can deduct $40,000 in your state and local taxes. Previously, that was $10,000. So you've gotten $30,000 more you can deduct. And that deduction is for the next 3 years. So you're going to save a whole boat of money the next 3 years if you fall into that category. So I'm not going to belabor this point because I know a lot of people are probably not happy about what they're hearing, but my job is to bring you the facts, and then we can figure out what can be done in order to fix this. And so next, I want to go to H&R Block for a second, because they released a report that I think it's really important for us to review, that looks at how these taxes impact everybody. So I'm going to review that very quickly because there's some key points there I want to share with you. Some of them we've already reviewed, so I'm not going to bore you with that. But one of the things that they talked about that I think is important is the taxes for children. So let's talk about that, because if you have grandchildren, this is an important information that you need to know. There is increased tax credit for children. So it was $2,000, and now it's $2,200 per child. So if you have grandchildren, this is important information to pass along, because there is increased tax deduction for the child tax credit, and now it's a permanent thing, and it was increased because that was a part of the first Trump tax cut bill. Now it's been made permanent, and it's been increased by $200. So that's the first thing I want to bring to your attention regarding the big, beautiful bill. Then there are other things I want to bring to your attention, which is the 529 plan expansion. This is really big information. If you have grandchildren that are in private schools, this is important information, because now 529 plans, you can deduct up to $20,000 to pay for K-12 expenses, up from $10,000. And then there's additional non-tuition qualified expenses for K-12 costs, such as books, online learning materials, and tutoring fees. I mean, there's a lot of money for additional post-secondary education costs, such as tuition fees, books, and this. There's so much in there for that. And then the third thing I want to bring to your attention is the vehicle interest deduction, which applies to everyone. If you're about to buy a car, pay attention to this, because if you buy an American assembled car, a car that was finally assembled in the United States, you can deduct the interest on the loan. This is also new. It's meant to promote made in America cars. And so whatever car you're about to buy, this is an important information to know, that if it's assembled here in the United States, you can get a big tax break for the interest on the loan. And given where interest rates are, especially for car loans, that could come in, So essentially, you could stack so many things from this bill. If you have kids in private school, if you have buying a new car, if you live in a high income tax state. And then if your income exceeds the threshold that I've talked about, there's so many things you can pull from this bill and save so much on your taxes. And that's why I keep saying that this bill is stacked for the middle class and the rich, unfortunately. So that's my rant on that. I'm going to move on to the exciting news about the $600 tax deduction. But before I do that, I want to share with you a big thing that we launched this week, and it is our new community. And give me 90 seconds and I'll tell you about it before I go to the 600 stimulus bill. So a lot of you have been talking to us about wanting to be part of a community where, number one, we can have a one-on-one, you know, with you, answering your questions, responding to things, covering topics that we haven't covered here, because there's so much to cover and we cannot cover everything on YouTube or TikTok. And so we've been hearing this, and I've been doing this for 15 years. I've never found a place where we could do it that will be technologically friendly, easy to use, and a platform that seniors can really find interesting. And then I found the school platform, and I'm excited to announce that we've launched a platform, a community for seniors age 55 plus. And here's the thing, it's an online community for you to have a worry-free retirement, to unlock every dollar discount and advantage from Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and more. Why is this important? Well, every bundle resources that we create, if you sign up today, you're going to get it for free. If you go to our YouTube channel and you go to our YouTube store, I'll put the link in there. We release all these resources and guides that are paid for. But if you sign up in our community today, you get all our guides for free. And we have 6 guides we've put there already that you can get access to for free. How to maximize your Social Security, senior banking resource guide, complete senior guide to Trump's big beautiful bill, complete guide to EBT discount, complete guide to senior discounts for 2025, and Social Security and Medicare cheat sheet. All these things are there you can get access to right now. And if you're part of this community, here's what you get. Every week, you're going to see videos that address specific topics. We're going to do monthly money saving and discount tips, step-by-step resource guides, and benefit for seniors. I'm going to do a live Q&A. We're doing one tomorrow. And then a supportive community of seniors that are on the same journey with you. And we're going to cover topics like this, how to find, hidden income, discover retirement benefits you're leaving on the table, how to master your retirement, how to find age-friendly jobs and side hustles that are designed for your lifestyle, how to score exclusive senior perks, and on and on and on. All these topics that we could not really cover here, we're going to be covering on the platform. So if you're one of the first 50 members, you're going to get it at a lifetime rate, at the lowest rate it will ever be. And we already have, I think 35 members have joined already. So we have our 15 more slots for the first 50 members to get it at a low lifetime rate. So here's where to go. School.com/benefits insider. I'm going to put the link in the comments and the description to this video, and then check it out. It may be for you, it may not be, but at least you can see everything we're offering and make a decision on whether you want to be part of a senior community where we're providing value to you. And if you join, you're going to get 50 times what you pay for it every month, and it will be so worth it. So that is my little pitch there for our new community. I'm very excited to be working on that with you. So now let's go to the stimulus bill, and I'm going to put the link to the community in the chat very soon. Let's go to the stimulus bill, because Senator Josh Hawley listened to Trump, and then he went in and wrote a bill to do exactly what Trump wanted to do, which is provide a stimulus to everybody. So here is the bill. Now, I'm not going to bore you with the Senate language, but I want you to see that this is not some pie in the sky belief. This is not some gimmick. This is not clickbait. This is actually a bill. And I'm going to read the senator's press release so that you can see what he has to say about the bill that he just released, so that you can understand that this is actually happening and is in motion. So Senator Josh Hawley, here is his website, and he's has this to say about the bill that he submitted in order to do what President Trump has said he wanted to get done. So, one second. I think some people are asking for the school link, so I'm going to post it in the chat for a quick second. So give me one quick second. Let me do that, and then I'll get back to what I was talking about. So if you want to join the community that we just launched, I'm going to put the link in the chat to this live, and then if you're watching the live later, I'm also going to put it in the comments to the video. So let's go back to Josh Hawley. So here's the press release he sent a few days ago. This is fresh, and here's what he has to say. He says Hawley introduces legislation to send rebate checks to working Americans. Today, which was July the 28th, Monday, U.S. Senator Josh Hawley introduced the American Worker Rebate Act, legislation that will send rebate checks to working Americans following the historic revenue accrued through the president's tariff policy. Well, what is he talking about regarding the president's tariff policy? Well, I have a particular image I want to share with you that highlights exactly what that meant. So President Trump, has been passing tariff on goods and services that are coming from abroad, and it was his way of raising more money into the treasury. Well, that is projected to raise $150 billion. So the White House posted this image a few days ago, $150 billion in tariff revenue. Well, guess what? The press asked the president about stimulus, and the president said he was interested in sending a $600 stimulus to Americans because they have received more in tariff revenue than they had projected. Last year, if you want to compare, tariff revenues were $30 billion. Now it's $150 billion projected for this year. So the money, the $600 that Senator Hawley is talking about, is going to come from this pot, the money that has been coming in for the tariff. So let's read some more. So the senator goes on to say that Americans deserve a tax rebate after 4 years of Biden's policies that have devastated family savings and livelihood. Like President Trump proposed, my legislation would allow hardworking Americans to benefit from the wealth that the Trump tariffs are returning to the country. Senator Hawley introduced the legislation last week after President Trump voiced support for this policy when he discussed record-breaking tariffs. So I wanted you to understand where this is coming from. The president said something, the senator just wrote the legislation to make it happen. And so that is the connection between where this started and where this is going. So, and I'm going to explain to you what's in the bill because I read the entire bill and I've summarized it in my own language to be able to, in plain language, that's what I meant, to be able to share that with you. So here's what it says. So I have summarized the whole bill that I shared with you into this. So here's the bottom line. The bill will give each American $600. So this bill will give cash rebates to Americans using the money collected from tariffs on foreign imports, and seniors are specifically included and protected. I want to explain that. Included and protected. How much money would you get? At least $600, but potentially much more depending on tariff revenue. So if more revenue comes in from tariffs, seniors are going to see more money. Married couples are going to see $1,200. So this is similar to the 2020 stimulus bill. Remember when you got stimulus during COVID, it went to everybody, man, woman, child, everybody. It went to, this is the same thing. So if you have children, you're getting $600 for each child. If you have grandchildren and you are the primary caregiver or the guardian, then you're getting $600 for that grandchild also. So it's $600 minimum, but it could be more if more money is collected from the tariff revenue. And like everything else, there are limits. So if you make more than $75,000 in income as a single person, then it begins to phase out. If you make more than $150,000 as a married couple, then the $600 begin to reduce. but it's not by a lot. So it's to make sure that majority of people will get the benefit. Now, what do you have to do to get this? Well, you don't need to do anything. The IRS will use your social security to send you the check. So you have to have a valid social security number. The money is protected. That's what I wanted to explain. Nobody can seize or garnish this check. It is supposed to go into the hands. So if you're a senior citizen and you're worried about being seized for debt or back taxes, this is being exempted. They want the money to go directly to people so that they can spend it and stimulate the economy. And the government will send it by electronic payments unless you don't have correct information with the IRS, then they will send a check. So that is the detail of the $600 proposal, the bill that Senator Hawley has introduced. Now, let me give some more information about this. You've been hearing all year. There are some creators on YouTube that every other day they are talking about stimulus. They're talking about stimulus. They're talking about stimulus. That stimulus has never come, and they've been talking about it for 2 years now. Well, let me tell you this. This is the most realistic chance I have seen for a stimulus to be passed that will impact low-income seniors in probably a year and a half. This bill has momentum. The president said it. The senator has drafted it. I'm already seeing bipartisan interest in doing something about this. So if there's going to be a stimulus that's going to be passed to impact low-income seniors and put money in your pocket, I have not seen a better bill. This is it. And so what can you do? Well, I think you should go to the town halls and ask your senator or your congressperson about it. When there's a bill and you can get them to react to it, is better than getting them to give you an idea that doesn't have any bill or have any chance of being passed. This is a bill that is there. So if you go to a town hall this summer, this August, for your congressperson, all you have to ask them is, hey, would you support the $600 stimulus that Senator Josh Hawley is proposing and the president has endorsed? That is the simple question that you need to ask them, and make them know that you are in favor of it, because that's how we get things passed. Otherwise, we need momentum. And if you want this done this year, you need a lot of senators and Congress, men and women, to get behind it. And so that is the exciting news on the stimulus front that I wanted to bring to you. Now, in other news, you may have heard this, but the Treasury Secretary, so stay with me here because I have a lot to cover on this. The Treasury Secretary said something recently that got a lot of seniors spooked, and I wanted to clarify what this was about. So under the big beautiful bill, there is something called let me remove this and then put this. Okay, there we go. Under the big beautiful bill, there is something called the Trump account. And the way it's supposed to work is that any child that is born between 2025 and 2028, yes, it's only going to last for 3 years, but hopefully it's going to be extended. Any child born between 2025 and 2028 is going to get a $1,000 account that is opened by the U.S. government under the child's name. And the $1,000 will be invested in an index fund or a mutual fund that tracks the stock market. The idea is that the government is investing in the child's future early, so that when they get to a certain age, they will have a pot of money. Well, the Treasury Secretary was in some conference and they asked him about it, and he said, I quote, "This is the backdoor way of privatizing Social Security." Obviously, the president has said he doesn't want to touch Social Security. He's not going to, the new Social Security commissioner has been on several media outlets saying that privatizing Social Security is off the table. So when the Treasury Secretary, who is probably the number 3 or 4 person in the government, says this, it gets attention. And so when I did a video yesterday or the day before I talked about it. That hey, this is something you guys should know, that there is they're trying to privatize Social Security through the back door by setting up these accounts, so that when you get to a certain level, they're going to be like, why do we need Social Security when everybody has an account that is being invested for you in the stock market? So that got a lot of media attention, and he had to walk it back. Let me share with you what he has to say, and then you can make up your mind. So here's Levitt cleans up Bessett's Social Security privatization comment. He said it's a supplement, not a substitute. Well, let's hear what he has to say. So, White House press secretary said that President Trump is wholeheartedly committed to protecting Social Security after Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent framed his Trump account as a backdoor to privatizing Social Security. The secretary, what the secretary, so this is the press secretary, what the Secretary of Treasury was saying and what this administration believes is that these Trump newborn accounts, which is an incredibly creative and great provision that was in the One Beautiful Bill for newborn children and families and future generations of Americans, will help supplement, not substitute, Social Security. Well, the tax deferred investment account allowed parents to contribute up to $5,000 a year for their children. The account allows for penalty-free withdrawals at age 59. The government will also contribute $1,000 to each baby born between 2025 and 2028. In a way, it is a backdoor to privatizing Social Security. That's what he said. So that's what the cleanup came in. What do you think? Do you think he meant to say they're going to privatize Social Security? Or do you think he just had a moment and he just slipped up and said something that he did not mean? Do you think there's a plan, an ultimate plan to privatize Social Security? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, because this topic, when I presented it a few days ago, a lot of seniors had very strong opinions about it. So you let me know what you think this is all about. I'm really interested in hearing your thoughts in the comments about this. So the next thing I want to talk to you about is changes in the Social Security Administration. And then I'm going to talk to you about the $370 that the government owes you. And then I'm going to talk about Social Security cost of living adjustment that hasn't lived up to the hype. And then finally, I'm going to talk about Medicare. Remember when I started, I told you our partner chapter can save you $1,100 and put you in the best Medicare plan possible. I'm going to talk about that in a second. So let's dig into changes that are happening in the Social Security Administration that you should be aware of, because it has potential to impact your benefits. Let me make sure my microphone is working. All right, good. And here's the microphone, if in case you're wondering. So let's talk about Social Security changes that are happening. So let me share my screen and let's talk about it. So this is Axios saying that Trump administration rolls out new Social Security hurdles, then says they were optional. So this is the part that disturbed me, and I feel like you have to be aware of what's happening and how it affects you. The Trump administration quietly rushed through major changes to Social Security's phone service policy, but after advocates for the elderly expressed concern, the agency that oversees the program now says the change is optional. I don't know how you make change to Social Security system and then say it's optional. So let's learn some more. Why does this matter? The policy would have forced millions of more Americans to travel to the agency already understaffed field offices to do routine things like changes to their address, obtain a tax form, or generate a benefit verification letter. So currently, these are services that you are able to perform online. Changing your address should not be a process. Being able to get a letter to confirm that you are receiving Social Security benefits shouldn't be that hard. You can just go online and print it out, and other simple things that people could be able to do by logging in online. Well, they were quietly changing that. So that would have been a big obstacle, particularly for seniors, people struggling with mobility issues, or those who in rural areas who live far from the field office. So the reason why advocates were pushing back was that there were three things that were happening at the same time. The first is that Social Security is closing field offices. So people in especially rural areas have to travel further. So it makes sense that simple things should be put online so that you can be able to do them online. So when they close offices and then services that you were expecting to be able to do online are taken offline and now you have to travel further, then it puts seniors, especially those in rural areas, in a particular situation. And that is what this is talking about. And so let me finish reading this. The Social Security Administration's own filing says 3.4 million more people would be forced to go to field offices, which was already understaffed and hard to get to for many Americans. So, under the new policy described in the filing to the Office of Management and Budget, beneficiaries will first have to go online to get an online Social Security authentication PIN. This was set to begin August 18. Now, here's the thing. You have to go online and get a PIN. And then the PIN will have to be mailed to you. And then after that, you can log in online. That's the first part of this. Earlier this week, the AARP, the powerful advocacy group for older Americans and other advocates for the elderly and disabled, drew attention to the change. Now the agency says that the use of the SAP PIN is optional and was always meant to be optional. The intention of the expanded SAP feature in the filing was always to be optional, the spokesperson said. The purpose of the feature is to improve customer experience by providing a convenient and secure method for callers to verify their identity. If a caller does not have a Social Security account or chooses not to use an SAP feature, the customer experience will be no different than it is today. They will be continue to use existing authentication methods to verify their identity. Yes, but the filing detailing the new policy has not been updated and changed. So the big picture is that the latest dust-up comes months after the agency backed off a similar plan after widespread outcry, and this was when Doge was in full force. So here's my thought about all of this. I think that the Social Security Administration has invested a lot of money into resources that Elon Musk had proposed when Doge came to town, and made them spend a lot of money on new gadgets and new systems and new AI tools to help them screen people, approve setting applications, approve setting processes. And so they've put in all this money and now they want to use the resources. And so when they are sneaking some of these policies in, it's because they've spent a ton of money to make changes using AI and other tools that they think is going to make life better, and they want to use it. That is what I think is happening. But you tell me, because in both cases, it's because people push back and then they backed off. But if nobody pushes back, you're going to call the Social Security Administration and realize that things that you could do online or over the phone, you could no longer do, and nobody sent you a letter explaining this. And things are happening so fast that when I share these kind of things, seniors are like, "Oh, I didn't get a letter about this. It must be fake news. I didn't get a letter about this. It must be clickbait." Well, here's the thing. There is so much happening and at such a fast pace that you're not going to get a letter about everything. And so my job is to find these things that are happening that you may not be aware of and bring it to your attention, because it does affect how you interact and how you deal with the Social Security Administration, which is an important agency affecting 74 million Americans. So, in part of the Trump administration's effort to combat fraud, ongoing even as Elon Musk's Doge efforts have receded into the ground, the agency instituted the policy without any announcement. That's what I was saying, right? They do these things now without announcement. and that's why you need to be aware of it. A departure from how it has operated under prior administrations, and critics say that it hasn't provided substantial evidence for the fraud it is trying to combat. In the past, including the first Trump administration, a big policy change would have been carefully tested and messaged to the public in blogs and website and press releases. The agency would typically reach out to stakeholders like AARP, advocates for the poor and disabled, and other lawyers who work with the Americans on their benefit claims. The agency said it will amend its filing to make it clear that this policy is optional. Advocates are keeping an eye out for that too. Well, I am also keeping an eye out for it because the pace at which they've been making changes has been really, 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 really scary. And some of them are not being announced. You don't hear about it until it's implemented. And then you try to go do something on the website or look for information and it's not there. For example, I'll give you an example. They used to be able to publish how long the wait times are when you go to the Social Security website. There was a particular place I could go to and see how long it takes to reach a customer service agent. And that was one way to hold them accountable for how they are serving seniors. Well, recently they took all that information away. So now they don't even want us to know how long it takes to reach a customer service agent. But seniors have been reporting that they've been on the phone sometimes for hours trying to get to speak to a human. And then they're implementing AI tools that can automatically screen calls and screen communication and make decisions. And that is not clearly being communicated. So when you are on the phone and you're getting into these maze and you're getting into this, puzzles where click this, click that, click this, click that. Sometimes it's AI that is behind the scenes that is running all of that information and you don't even know it. And so that is stuff that we need to watch out for because these are some of the things that are happening with your benefits. So now let's talk about the $600, the $370 that I think the Social Security, not that I know. But before I say that, other news organizations also covered this mess with the Social Security Administration. So let me make sure that you know that studies have been done that is extensive. This is the Center for Budget and Policy Priorities. And the Trump administration plans to force millions of seniors and people with disabilities to travel to Social Security offices overburdened. So this has been widely covered. The fact that they're sneaking these policies through. Yes, they're sneaking it, but people are catching it and doing research and reporting it. And that's how we become aware and then we bring it to you. And so here is the Center for Policy and Budget Priorities detailing what this all means, talking about even giving real numbers of who was going to be impacted. According to them, by the numbers, burdensome new restriction for Social Security beneficiaries, 5.3 million people will have to visit field offices. Everyone who needs help from a field office will be burdened by longer waits. And then it says 3 million people will have to have hours on the road in order to go to a field office. New requirements mean millions of beneficiaries will be forced to travel to field offices. And then it says there's 3,000 fewer staff. So they're forcing more people to go into offices, but they've reduced staffs by 3,000 more, part of the 7,000 loss in the largest cut in Social Security history. And then 17% increase in field office visits. More people have been forced over the last year to go to Social Security field offices. At the same time, they're cutting staff. And at the same time, they're pushing more people to visit the offices. And here's the thing. If you go to a Social Security office to do anything, prepare to wait long because they are closing offices. So the remaining offices are going to need more people to work it. But now they are not doing that. They're actually firing people. And so you have like a perfect storm of less offices, less workers, and more people than ever collecting Social Security benefits. In 2025, there are more people collecting Social Security benefits than ever before. Meanwhile, Social Security has fired 7,000 people and closed offices and then are pushing people to go to the offices rather than doing things that they could do previously online because they say they are fighting fraud, waste, and abuse. Well, if you're fighting fraud, waste, and abuse and you want people to go to the offices, then open more offices and hire more people to work it. So, anyway, moving on. So, the last thing I want to talk to you about, not the last thing, but second to last thing is this $300 thing that I have been teasing out, but let me find the article and share with you. So before that, the background to this is that the Social Security Administration, if you're on Social Security or disability benefits, they owe you money. They owe you $370. Where is this coming from? Well, here's the deal. If you've been paying attention to your Social Security increases over the last 15 years, if you've been collecting benefits that long, or even the last 5 years, let me use the last 5 years as an example so that I can make this even clearer. Over the last 5 years, Social Security cost of living adjustment has been 8.7%, 9%, 8.7%, 5.9%, and then it went to 3.2%, and then it came to 2.5% last year. So let me add all that up. Okay, let me add that up very quickly. Social Security. So we have 8.7%, right? 8.7% plus 5.9% plus 3.2 plus 2.5. So that's 20%. So the government is saying that between the last 4 years, inflation has gone up by 20%. Now, you and I know that that cannot be true because the real inflation has been more than that. Like prices that have gone up has been more than 20%. And so, for example, next year, Medicare Part B premium is going to go up by 11.6%. So there's no way you can tell me that over the last 4 years, inflation has only gone up by 20%. I would say more like 30. So where is this $370 money coming from? Well, the Senior Citizens League, which is an advocacy group for seniors, did a survey. And they realized that since 2010, 15 years, seniors have lost $370. $370. And because inflation has always been higher than your cost of living adjustment. So this is the first time somebody has actually gone in and done the work and given us a number. So why is that number important to you and why should you care? Well, there is a bill called the Social Security Expansion Act. In my opinion, that is the act that has a big chance of passing in trying to fix the big problem of Social Security, and it has 5 different things that it wants to do. One of them is to increase Social Security benefits so that it can catch you up. It can catch you up to what you've lost due to inflation. Well, the problem is that they're only going to catch you up by $200. The Social Security Expansion Act is going to give seniors a $200 increase. Seniors on Social Security and disability benefits are going to get a $200 increase in order to really smooth over what you've lost in your income purchasing power due to inflation. Well, now the Senior Citizens League, which is a nonpartisan advocacy group for seniors, has come out and said the number is not $200, it is actually $370. So now where does that leave us? Where does that take us? It just takes us to the point where now we have a new number. And so when the Social Security Expansion Act, when Congress is back and the bill comes up again, because the bill is in both houses. It has bipartisan support in the House. It has bipartisan support in the Senate. The only thing is that it needs enough people to get behind it to push it over the finish line. So it does have momentum, but when they bring it up, the $200 is not going to cut it, because the $200 is not going to catch you up to what you've lost, because the number is $370. So what am I saying? I'm saying that Social Security income have lost $370 over the last 15 years. If the government wants to adjust benefit to catch you up to inflation, $370 is the number. So why should you care? Why is this number meaningful to you? Because now you have a number you can bring in front of your representatives, so that when they are talking about saving Social Security, protecting Social Security, helping seniors get ahead, you have a number you can tell them, and you know where it's coming from. It comes from the Senior Citizens League and a survey that they did. And let me see if I can actually pull it up and share that with you, because it is actually, I have the evidence, so I can show it to you, so they can see where that number is coming from. Because I don't want to give you any number that is not backed by actual source. So this one is coming from the Austin American Statesman, and they started by saying that your cost of living adjustment for next year is projected to be 2.7%. This is coming from the Senior Citizens League. They are the respected organization that projects or forecasts what your Social Security cost of living adjustment is going to be before the final announcement happens in October. So in their projection, they said that based on what they're seeing with inflation, your cost of living adjustment is likely to be around 2.7% for next year. Now, a lot of you probably are disappointed by that. And I agree, you should be disappointed. 2.7%, when we have experienced so much price increases already, it's not going to help. So they went on to say a lot of things, but one of the things they said, which I want to bring to your attention, is this. While several months of inflation data are still pending, I hope you can see that. Let me make sure you can see that. Yep, you can see it. While several months of inflation data are still pending, current estimates suggest a 2.5% COLA increase for 2025, adding roughly $50 per month. But both Medicare Part B premium projected to rise by 11.6%. So that's where the 11.6% number I was giving you came from. And then they go on to drop a big number. So first of all, they're saying if COLA is 2.7%, your Medicare Part B increase of 21.50 would absorb the full adjustment for anyone making $800 or less. So essentially what they're saying is that your Social Security increase is going to be eaten up by Medicare Part B premium, especially for low-income seniors. So then they dropped the big news. And here it is. So they're saying that even without considering premium increases, this amount is far below what is needed to maintain purchasing power and falls significantly short of covering the rising cost of older adults. A study by the Senior Citizens League shows retirees could need an extra $370 per month just to match the buying power they had in 2010. So that is where I got my data from, and that is why I am sharing it with you. And when you click on that link, it takes you to the Senior Citizens League survey, and I can walk you through that very quickly so that we are all on the same page. So I did click that, and here is what it says right there. Social Security benefits could lose 32% of their purchasing power. All right. So it is talking about all of this and the increases that have happened and how Social Security has not kept up with inflation. And it goes on to show you price increases and decreases and all that. And then at the end, it tells you that you need $370. I'm trying to find that number somewhere in order to make it up to seniors for the money that they've lost. So this is where this is coming from the reputable, very well respected Senior Citizens League, saying that essentially Congress owes you $370. So that's where that comes from. Let me know your thoughts. Do you agree? Do you think you've lost that much? Or do you think it's even more? If you think it's more, let me know in the comment section below. And then finally, let's talk about Medicare. All right. So one of the things that I have been talking about for quite a while now is that if you are on Medicare, and there's one thing you probably don't know, is that millions of seniors are in the wrong plan, and their specific needs may not be met with the current plan that they are on. So you are paying premiums that you shouldn't be paying, or you are in coverage that is not sufficient. That's bad. And even what is even worse is that many think that they have better coverage than they do. Some seniors find out that the doctors and prescriptions they are relied upon for years no longer are covered by their current Medicare plan. Or some end up with unexpected bills for procedures they can't afford or delay. And so if you're 65 or you're turning 65 or you're currently on Medicare, the best thing you can do right now is to call our partner chapter, 539-205-2147. Why? Because they will search every single plan nationwide and give you unbiased recommendation based on your individual needs. What does that mean? It means that if you already are in the best plan, they will tell you. But if you're not, they will help you find the coverage, better coverage for free. And already we've sent over 2,000 of our viewers like you, and they've had a great experience getting into a better Medicare plan and saving money. You can save at least $1,100 when you work with these guys. Their opinion is unbiased. They are not there to sell you anything. They are not being incentivized to push a certain plan to you. They are there to look at everything that's available to you when it comes to Medicare and help you get into a better plan. Why? Because remember, it's just like an airplane. You need to put on your mask first before you can help others. But a lot of seniors are helping everybody else and not focusing on their own stuff. And then they realize at some point that the doctors or prescription drugs they relied upon is no longer covered, or unexpected bills that they cannot afford or delay has arrived. So it doesn't cost you a thing. One call could save you thousands and get you into a better Medicare plan. So call chapter. I'm also going to put their link in the description below and put their link in the comments and pin it so that you can reach out to them. So if you have any questions about anything I've talked about today, let the like button, hit the subscribe button. I really appreciate your help. If you're new here, thank you for being here. I hope I brought you value today. If you've been watching my channel for a while, I continue to appreciate you guys for always showing up and showing support. So I'll be back live tomorrow. And as I mentioned, if you want to join our new community, let me, just go to the website, school.com, Benefits Insider, and we have 15 more slots left to be a founding member of this community. Get it at the lowest lifetime rate ever, and your rate will never go up, but you'll get 50 times the value. Even today, when you sign up to be part of this group, you will get access to all our paid guides, and that alone is worth $2,500 in just savings that you're going to find in the 6 guides that we already have published. So I will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for